Hello and welcome to another vintage edition of Tech Tuesday, where in today's video we're going to be looking at another piece of hi-fi equipment. It's the Technics Z990. Now, I can only apologise to people who don't particularly like hi-fi equipment. Don't worry, this channel ain't turned into just something solely hi-fi equipment. This is just, I'm assembling a bit of a vintage hi-fi and I thought it might be interesting to share my journey and the different components that I've got with you. Right, so here it is. It's the Technics SU-Z990 stereo integrated amplifier from the mid-80s. Now, one of the first things that did attract me to this particular amplifier was obviously the power meters, which isn't something that you get very often with a Technics amplifier, so I did like that a lot. Then obviously below that you've got the bass and treble knobs. They have like a nice point in the centre where there's a little bit of resistance, so it just tells you where the centre is, so that's quite nice. I'll just set that back to 2 and that's to 2. Then obviously it's got 2 sets of speakers, which I really like. I'll just zoom in on those pictures for you, sorry about that jerkiness then. Obviously it's got remote and main. And I can't play any more of that Van Halen track because I know for a fact that YouTube will see it and go, oh, there's a Van Halen track on here, well, I've got to copyright that. Not that I make any money from these videos whatsoever. But anyway, then obviously off to the left of that you've got, if the camera will focus, you've got the standby, which it's a lovely button. Then you've got the headphones. Bizarrely, it's that bigger size that they seem to insist on using hi-fis. I've never understood that. Why not just use the standard one? And then we'll move over to the right, and then you've got obviously the input selectors. You've got this loudness button. Now personally, I don't know why you would ever turn that off. That just seems to me like it's something that has to be kept on, because if you turn it off, the sound it sounds really thin, and then you turn it on and it sounds really rich. I'll do a better demonstration of that later in the video when I'll plug the camera directly into the amplifier. Then of course you've got all your inputs. You've got, you know, tape 2, tape 1. Bizarrely, you can have 2 tape machines open at once. I suppose that's so you can double cross from either tape machine. And you've got CD. Obviously, I've got a CD playing now. Tuner, phono. So it's got a phono stage in it. This, which is really good. I think it's moving magnet, because the turntable that I've got is, I believe, a moving magnet turntable. Then over to the left of that you've obviously got volume up, volume down, and the balance controls. Now bizarrely, these are just like buttons rather than your standard sort of like a knob, but actually that's a good thing, arguably, because then you don't get oxidation on it, and you don't even get any pops on these. Like I'll pause the CD, well, I'll stop it even, I'll plug that through, put the main thing in. You don't get any sounds. It's just a nice gentle up and down. Then that is shown on the the LED light display there above the red stripe, and obviously that is also functions as a balance meter, so it shows you what you've got your balance set to. And then above the loudness button you've got the remote sensor. Now unfortunately when I bought it, it didn't come with the remote, so I can't actually control it via a remote. But that remote, I've seen a picture of it. I'll probably put a picture up on screen if I can find one. And basically it could control the tape deck that used to come with this, and the CD, the CD and the tuner that came with this when it was sold as a hi-fi that was just sort of bought and you didn't have to muck about with separates like I'm doing. Which does actually lead me on to one of the main issues with this stereo integrated amplifier, which I shall get onto in a moment. Okay, so I've got a classical music CD. I'll just get this out, because hopefully it shouldn't have any copyright on it. so YouTube won't have a go at me. You know, it's just, I mean, look at how immaculate that is. That disc is 30 years old, yet there's not a scratch on it. It's really a testament to how well my parents have kept their CD collection. So I'll stick this in my Technics SLP2. There is a theme. And now when we turn the unit around, as you can see, we've got the inputs along here, RCA jacks, and this is the area where the problems arise. Around the back, basically we've got two sets of speakers. Obviously you've got the positive and the negatives. They're these really weird twist lock type, which were quite popular in the 1980s. As you can see, it's multi-voltage. If I zoom in a bit more, well, that's as far as I can go. It'll do 120 and 240 volts, as you can see. Then it's got two AC power outlets, but bizarrely they are only the American style. Then it's obviously got the AC in. It's also got a phono out controller, so that allows you to control your turntable via the remote. It's got a from tape, which is a weird 3-pin thing, and these are where the issues arise. Now, a tape deck that uses that isn't very good, so I can only use the tape 2 input, which is here. However, that only leaves me with two other RCA inputs for the phonograph, obviously, and the CD or auxiliary. Now that's an issue because I've got a tuner. Now you may just say, well, Sam, why don't you just plug it into the tuner? Well, it doesn't have the grey cable. It's a weird tuner, and to buy a tuner for this amp, it's hard to find. So yeah, same with the CD. Although I can use the RCA inputs, or the only input for that. That's more for a controller to control certain ones, and I think they've actually come out with a range of those. As you can see, it's obviously got a big cooling fan as well, although I don't think that actually runs. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, obviously it was made by the same people who pretty much make everything that Technics produce, let out, which is the Matsushita electronic people, and obviously it was made in Japan, and it'll do. Now here actually is one of the other main issues with me using this. As you can see, that's 8 to 16 ohms. Now the only speakers I've got are 6 ohms, then I've got another set of Bose speakers from 1986 which are 4 ohm. That won't work with this amp. Although it is a good amp, it's going back for the reasons such as this and this. It just doesn't have the expandability that I need. Right, okay, so that's that. That was a look at the Technics Z990. Obviously the issues that I've raised in the video have meant that unfortunately it's no longer here. I have sent it back now to where it came from. And if you haven't noticed, I'm using a different lens, which is why sometimes it will go a little bit out of focus because it's a bit new. It's the Yongyo 50mm lens, so that's why we're getting some really nice backgrounds on this shot. So yeah, as I mentioned, I have sent it back because of the issues with the size and the inputs on the back. Now I would recommend that amplifier because it is a good amplifier. It looks good. I did like the look of it, but it just wasn't practical in my setup. It didn't have the expandability that I needed, so I have sent it back now. If you have got the correct cassette deck, CD player, well, turntable, it'll fit any turntable, but obviously the tuner was an issue, which the tuner I have had a look. I've seen it on eBay along with the cassette deck and the tuner, and it does look well, but I mean it's more of it looks more lower end when you put them all together, and you can buy it on eBay for about £80, I think I saw it. So it's all right if you just want a quick setup cassette deck tuner. I don't know where you can get the CD player from. The issues did just mean that I've had to send it back. And I've got a new amplifier on its way. It's another Technics one. All my components are going to be Technics. I'm very close to finishing my hi-fi. I can't wait to show you the finished product. And I shall see you in my next video. For now, in a bit.